Hello, in this example, I'm going to be explaining how to define and use variables in Terraform. So now to define a variable, we simply use the keyword variable and we specify the name of the variable that we want to define. In this case, I want to define a string. So I specify that the type of the variable is called string. Now you don't really have to specify the type or the description um, or the description of the variable. Now the type of the variable can be inferred from the default value. In this case, I'm specifying that the type is a string since I'm not providing default value. What is a default value? A default value is the value that is assumed for that variable if the user does not specify anything otherwise. In this case, my string variable does not have a default value, but my variable of type list has a default value, right? As you can see here, it has a default value, but it doesn't have a description. And also my variable map, the map itself has a default value, but doesn't have a description also. Now, if I need to reference my variable, you only need to specify the word var, the name of your variable. In this case, if I want to specify, if I want to interpolate or retrieve this value of my subnet, all I have to do is just say var dot my subnet. For the list, I'm going to say var dot ami list and the index this or this that I'm trying to retrieve. Now for the map also, I specify the name AMI map, var.ami map, into bracket the key that I'm trying to read, whose value I'm trying to retrieve. Now let's simply run this. Let's run Terraform. Let me clear this. Now Terraform apply. You see, it's asking me for a value for input of my subnet. This is because my subnet does not have a default value like this one. So it's asking me to enter a value for that. So let me enter my subnet is SEB E7 blah 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 blah. Now, thank you. So therefore it retrieves the AMI list and index 0, which is this guy, and output it to me. You see? Now, there are other ways for me to actually pass in the value of my subnet without, so that I won't be prompted for a value. So you can say Terraform var dash my subnet. Let me quickly use this. Then write Terraform apply. This says pass the variable my subnet with value equals to this particular Terraform configuration file. As you can see, we were not prompted for this value because we passed the value of my subnet as an environmental variable. We passed it as an environmental variable, whereby my subnet equals to sub blah blah blah. So that's how to use variable in Terraform. Now, a couple of other things that you have to keep note of is Boolean. According to the documentation, because of the uncertainty of things, it is advisable that a Boolean, you should use string for your Boolean. For example, instead of writing true and false like this is discouraged. Instead, this should be a string because of And also, I already explained this. Now the var file, this I'm going to explain in the next tutorial. I hope you understand the tutorial. I'm going to expatiate more on this in upcoming tutorial. Thank you very much.